So in our question, we've been asked to express 90 as a product of prime factors. So for this, I think the best thing we can start with is thinking about what our prime numbers are, because we're going to need those. And they start with 2, of course, not 1, because every prime number has to have exactly 2 factors and 1 doesn't. So we've got 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, and so on. For this, we shouldn't need any prime factors bigger than 13 just for the numbers that we're looking at for these examples. Now, the first thing we're going to start with is, of course, the number 90. Now, I'm going to find all the prime numbers that are factors of 90. So all the prime numbers that divide 90. And I need to sort of split it into its component parts. It's a bit like taking apart its building blocks. Now, to do this, first of all, I'm going to split 90 into 2 parts, 2 numbers that multiply together to make 90. And it could be any positive integers that multiply together to make 90. I'm going to choose 9 and 10. So 9 times 10 makes 90. But of course, neither of these are prime numbers. Now, because they're not prime, I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to split my 9 now into 2. And it's always 2 branches every time that you split it into. Now, to make 9, I can, of course, multiply 3 by 3. Now, you can see from our list of prime numbers, and you probably know anyway, that 3 is a prime number. So I'm going to circle it. And, of course, this one's prime as well. Now, I've circled those to do 2 things, really. First of all, to show that these are both prime numbers. But also, it sort of cuts off the end of these branches. So these branches are now dead. We've sort of finished with those. So we'll go back to the 10 over here, and we'll do the same with this. We'll split this into 2 numbers that multiply together to make 10. And so I'm going to use 2 and 5. Now, both of those are prime numbers as well. So we're going to circle both of those. And so actually, all our branches are now dead. I have found all of the prime factors of 90. Now, to show our answer, it says up here, express 90 as a product of prime factors. Now, that means, product in maths means multiply. So I really need to present my answer in this way. I need to put 90, my original number, equals 2 times by 3 times by 3 times by 5. So I've used all of those prime factors I've got there. And that's kind of okay, but actually as really good mathematicians, we should be looking towards using our indices here. Sorry about the little beep in the background. I have 2 times by 3, and because it's 3 times 3, we're going to put that as 3 squared times by 5. And that is 90 expressed as the product of its prime factors. And every number, every whole number, has a sort of signature like this of prime factors, and every single number has a different kind of signature of prime factors. We're going to try another example now, but with maybe a bigger number with more prime factors on it. Okay, so now we've got an example of 364. And just because of the fact that I've changed recording windows, we have lost my prime number list up here, so let's put the prime number list back up. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, and 13, and so on. And 364, okay, we'll do the same thing again. Remember, you always split it initially, always into 2. So, because this number's even, I think the easiest thing to do there is divide it by 2, which is, of course, prime. So I'm going to circle my 2. And that leaves me with the number of 182. Now, 182 is, of course, prime. No, prime, what to talk about? That is just a regular number. So we can split that into 2, and it's even, so I can divide by 2 is what I really meant there. Now, 2 is prime, so let's do that again. And now we've halved it, so we've got 91, because 2 times 91 makes 192. Now, I'm not quite sure here where to go. So I'm not quite sure what prime numbers might divide this. So I could try dividing it by 2. Obviously, that's not going to work because it's an even number. I could try and divide it by 3, but actually that's not going to work because it's 1 more than 90. Obviously, can't divide by 5, so I'll try and divide it by 7. And actually, if you divide it by 7, you should find that actually 7 times by 13 makes 91. And so 7 is prime, and 13 is of course prime as well. So I've finished all of my branches. So now I just need to finish off this thing where it says express it as the product of prime factors. So write your original number equals, and in this case it's 2 times by 2 times by 7 times by 13. But of course we're good mathematicians, so we're going to write this a little bit neater. We can put the 2 times 2 together to make 2 squared times by 7 times by 13. And once again, just to remind you, it is a good idea for neatness just to start with the smaller prime factors and work your way up to the larger ones. And I hope that helps.